And welcome everybody to the Friday edition of Just Parlays here with the Max Wagers Network. I'm your co-host Scott Reichel, and joining me is Chris King. Now we're a little bit late because there were some technical difficulties. We still have difficulties, but just not as many as before, I guess. But anyway, welcome to the show, Chris. How's it going? Chris, you there?
Yeah, you keep cutting out too on my end. I
Okay.
don't know
Well,
if it is on
then
what it is,
we're doing
but
the best we can. Chris, how's it going with you?
I'm going to blame it on Windows because every time Windows does an update, it decides to jack something else up and not make stuff not cooperate.
Yeah, point is
I
it's
don't
been
want
a
to
bit
really have
choppy, but we're trying. You know, we've tried some things, and this seems like this is the best we got. So we're gonna have to deal with it for at least Friday. But
parade, but that's
overall,
technology.
yeah, definitely technology coming back to bite us. But still, how'd your Thursday go?
It wasn't too bad to turn what was a laugher for the Phillies. You know, they were up 8-2 going to the ninth, and he promptly gave up 5 runs to make it an 8-7 game and make it very Philadelphia in that game.
Well, the
Very
Phillies, yeah,
disconcerting.
I was gonna say they held on to win, so at least the money line got there. But yeah, probably the worst beat of the night, or it was definitely the worst beat of the night. It was a question of if it's one of the worst beats of the year. Anytime
Why
you're up eight to
Familia was
two,
left.
yeah, Familia got
Yeah, I don't
cut.
know why Familia was in that. Yeah, I don't know why he was in there that long.
Yeah, he's officially not with the team anymore, so the Phillies fans don't have to actually worry about him pitching again. But either way, Phillies were up 8-2,
Not
gave
going
up
to work here
five.
anymore.
Yeah, he gave up five meaningless runs there in the ninth, and then won 8-7. But if you had the run line there, I know a couple of friends of mine did a bit rough there. For me, I ended up getting burned by the Angels. I know that the Angels aren't a good team. I'm well
With
aware of that,
the money line
but
because
um,
yeah,
yeah.
this is very choppy to say the least. I wish I knew what was going on.
Yeah, apologies once again, but this is the best we got for the moment. But I had the Angels money. I had the
Technology is just
Angels.
not going to cooperate.
Yeah, I had the Angels first five, and yeah, Spencer Howard. Apparently a good pitcher. No, just kidding. He's still awful. Just the Angels are worse. So now there's rumors about the Angels potentially trading Ohtani.
5 innings, but
I'm
that
not.
just shows that.
Yeah,
Yeah, as I say, that just shows how bad the Angels lineup was. They did nothing. Wasted another good start from Otani. You know, he struck out
yeah, he struck out 11, I think, in there, but it was a classic, I'd say, start for the Rangers where they had bases loaded, no outs to start the first inning, and then the next three batters struck out, and you're like, all right, like you found a way through it, Ohtani. Maybe we can make this work. And instead, it was just nope. The Angels are just not going to do anything for the entire game. So yeah, if you had the Angels in any capacity, you got burned last night. But I still beat a line move. Didn't matter. Is what it is. Definitely an interesting day in sports. But I do want to ask you about one of the
Well, I mean,
off-season.
I took Otani's strikeout prop, so I mean that was probably the only thing that you could win on with as
Yeah,
regards to the Angels.
yeah, you backed the Ohtani props. I backed the Angels, so you won. I did not. But I was going to ask you about the new Kyler Murray
But I mean,
contract development story.
it was just a horrible showing though altogether. I mean, there was no two ways
Oh,
about
it
that.
was. It was terrible. I'm glad to say I did not watch that because I would have just been frustrated. But we know last week there was a lot of noise about the Kyler Murray studying. I'd say clause in his contract, how they wanted him to do independent game prep, etc. And it appears that social media bullied the Cardinals into submission because they officially removed the clause in general. So a couple layers to unpack here. First of all, did you actually like the clause in the first place? And second of all, do you think that the Cardinals should have taken it out once it was already in?
Um, I thought it was a good thing to put in there because Murray. We've talked a lot about quarterbacks, Jamarcus Russell, and among others, who didn't pay attention when it came to studying the game film to the point where Russell had a blank tape and thought that there were plays on it. Um, Murray, he did regress in the second half of last season. Whether it was lack of study or whatever is irrelevant. The fact is that everybody should have that kind of clause in their contract because you get paid 7, 8-figure, 9-figure contracts. Should the Cardinals have taken it out? No. I mean, they put it in there in the first place. You can't really close the barn door after the animals get out and then say, well, the door's closed. They got bullied, plain and simple, by social media. Murray, making a big to-do about it instead of just taking it like a man, shows that the Cardinals are a very fragile front office. And that,
I was just going to say a poorly run organization, but I think we're on the same page there. But the thing that I don't really understand, and maybe it involves the whole player empowerment movement, which we saw a lot in the NBA and everything, but if the person's going to pay you $230 million, then why are you complaining about anything? You signed the contract.
Right.
Like, you knew it was in there in the contract. Like, you signed the dotted line. So I don't know what the problem is.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
That's just it. It's just a matter of, it's easy to come back after the fact and go, oh, well, I didn't see that in there. Well, you put your name on the contract, right?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're looking at a spot as well where if you're the boss or you're the owner of an organization, not even just sports, and there's one promising member of your, I don't know, roster or however you want to describe, people on the payroll, and let's just say they have a bit of, one problem that you want to correct. Is it frowned upon to throw in a clause there if they agree to it? No. Like, the point is, if you're going to hand the keys over to Kyler, whether you think he should or not be the face of a franchise, the Cardinals were desperate. They were going to pay him a bunch of money. So I don't know how we got to the point in really just as a fan base or just in society where the players now can hold all the cards and can really try to just force ownership to do X, Y, and Z or to remove X, Y, and Z when they're the ones that pay you $30+ million every year.
Right.
Like, I don't understand how this became a thing. I mean, if you just take it out from sports, it's like the equivalent of having a clause in some person's contract at like Apple back in like the 2000s, and people were forcing Steve Jobs to do something about it. Like, no, he's running the entire company. Like, why are you asking him to? Like, no, the person's on the payroll. He's getting paid to do certain things. If the ownership wants him in order to get paid to do some things to improve on his craft, then why shouldn't he be forced to improve his craft?
And I agree with you. There's no reason that they should have just left it. I mean, he had a hullabaloo. Murray had the press conference, bitched and boned. So what? You signed the contract. Once you put your name on the dotted line, they already own you.
Yeah, pretty much.
There was no reason to overturn it at that point.
Yeah, and the counterpoint's going to be, well, this is how the owners have always treated the players, and now the players are turning it around. Like, that's not how the hierarchy of business works. If you own the team, you are above everybody else. Like, that's how it works. They're the ones that actually pay people the money.
Right.
They pay the employees. They pay for the TV deals, the stadium renovations. Like, they do all of the heavy lifting. So, yes, they should be able to tell you what you should be doing in order to get paid $200 million. That's just my stance. Is that a hot take? Because I don't know how.
Just said, yeah, JC
how did that become a hot take?
I don't think it's a hot take.
I don't get it.
But like JC said there, all the players want to run around saying they're disrespected when you're getting paid $230, $240 million. Are we going to hear if Deshaun Watson gets suspended? Are we going to hear that he was disrespected by the league because of the fact that they suspended him for what he did? I mean, where do you draw the line on this?
I don't know. That's kind of the point where Kyler ended up making a big deal out of it, either on a stream or he tweeted something out. We know that Kyler's a bit of a diva because he had his agent send out that huge post there during the offseason before he got the contract, which nobody read, by the way. I mean, that was just a ridiculous post. Nobody was going to read that. But I feel like this also just kind of touches upon the real issue with Kyler, and it's just immaturity. And if you want to hold your star quarterback accountable, which could trickle down and make others around the actual organization accountable. And it seems like Kyler isn't exactly a well-liked teammate. Maybe lack of film study and preparation was a part of the reason why. But I just don't know how social media got to the point of defending athletes for being mistreated when they're being paid life-changing money every single year. I don't know how this became a thing. How did this become a thing?
I have no idea. I mean, people just want to jump on whatever the latest cause is, and Kyler Murray and go back to, well, the Nets are keeping Kevin Durant hostage because they won't trade him.
He's
We'll hear about Russell Westbrook again.
Katie's hostage. I mean, they're paying him like $40 million for the next 4 years, but he's having a bad time. So,
there are ways out of. But I mean, there's ways out of it. I mean, we've seen Harden do it twice now.
Yeah, but
or three times, I guess, if you want to count when he got out of Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Harden's quit. We saw Simmons quit last year. Simmons didn't even play. So that's a separate category, but he also forfeited tens of millions of dollars, which actually makes sense. He had a problem with Harden because he was actively tanking games and he was still getting paid full salary. Like, that's where it gets a little bit shady there. But I don't know. I find it really weird, and I get that social media has allowed athletes to interact more with fans, and that a lot of fans seem to be attached to the hip with athletes for some reason, even though athletes don't know who any of these random people are on social media. But I just don't know how, for the sake of just business common sense,
and that's just,
I don't get it.
Yeah, but that's just it. That's just it. A, the athletes don't know who these people are. B, these people think that they're important because they get that they even exist. And C, that's basically social media in a nutshell. Everybody wants to be a social media.
It's like the Eminem song "Stan." You just have a bunch of people
that none of these guys are going to go in and tell their boss at Burger King that they don't want to work the closing shift because they made too many Whoppers.
Yeah, I don't really get it, but either way, it's kind of just
somebody else
nature
thinking that they're somehow going to be tied into it.
It's the nature of let's say sports media now. Now, I'm not saying that owners can get away with everything. Of course, like Donald Sterling should not be in charge of a team when he has quotes of being, using racial slurs and everything like that. So there's some stuff, within reason, of course, that owners can get themselves into hot water, and deservedly so. But paying the players and including clauses in contracts that the players aren't happy with, then maybe don't sign the contract. Like, I feel like your right to negotiate went out the window once you actually sign the contract. But
yeah, once you put your name recourse at that point.
Yeah, that's how I feel. But either way, I don't want to harp.
People are still going to complain.
I don't want to harp too much on it, but I just thought it was worth mentioning because of how the whole controversy about the clause in the first place got bullied into non-existence. And I think they should have just kept it in there. Ryan mentions Daniel Snyder. I mean, that's a perfect example of an owner that deserves to not have a team because of all of the random, just nonsense and despicable things that he's done. I believe he testified for 11 hours yesterday.
Yeah.
If you're an owner of a football team, why do they need you for 11 hours? It's because you have a lot of stuff you got to talk about. That's not a good sign. I'm just throwing it out there, but the NFL kind of has a boys club there with the owners and the commissioner, and they all stand for each other. So I'm not surprised Snyder's still in power. He shouldn't be, especially after what happened with the cheerleaders and the photo shoot and stuff, which for some reason only resulted in John Gruden getting fired, who wasn't even with the Washington football team, which still doesn't make any sense. But either way, a lot of owners doing a lot of stuff, but I don't disagree with owners who want to put clauses in contracts, making sure that their star player, the future of the organization, is actually focused on giving it his all. That's how I view it. And we saw that with Zion yesterday. There are some weight clauses in his contract. It's smart. You're paying him a bunch of money and he's been overweight and injured. Like, what? Yes, you should have clauses in there. Like, that's fine. But I'm not going to focus any more on that. You have anything else you want to recap from yesterday, or should we just move into the baseball? I'm assuming Chris froze for a second there, but any of you in the comment section can let me know down below if you have any thoughts. Okay, Chris is gone. So on that note, we're going to end up going over to the baseball card. This is going to be fun, though, because it's a parlay show, but Chris does the parlays. So we're going to have to make some stuff up on the fly. If you want to suggest some games in the comment section, you can, and I'll get to those. But I already made my play of the day video on the Athletics team total over, so hopefully that ends up cashing. To go through some of the interesting matchups, I find the Orioles-Reds matchup pretty interesting because you have two atrocious pitchers. Baltimore favored on the road because they're above 500. Shout out to Baltimore for getting it done yesterday against the Rays. Minor against Bradish. Total in this one is 9.5. I kind of have to be tempted by the over in this game. Oh, Chris is back, I guess. Okay, cool. So Chris is back. Welcome back. Yeah. I mentioned the Orioles-Reds. I'm looking at the over in that one. Both pitchers aren't good. Both offenses are good enough in Great American to get the job done. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, I didn't know that they had switched to Bradish. I thought they were still going with Kramer.
Yeah, Kramer apparently was pulled, and they're going with Bradish.
Yeah, that's even worse. I liked it a lot better when I wrote it yesterday and Kramer was pitching.
Yeah, of course.
But I still have no faith in Minor.
I lean to the over, maybe a team total over there, but I see runs in that game. I'd probably pick Baltimore anyway because I actually like their bullpen compared to Cincinnati's. But I think I'll just lean to the over, fade bad pitchers.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the Reds, Minor's hemorrhaging runs. He's got a 665 earned run average. Hasn't won in over 6 weeks.
It's not good.
Yeah, I guess he's hoping he's going to get traded, but I don't think anybody's going to want him at this point after showing that he's done absolutely nothing.
No, but then
Castillo and Molly might get traded, but not him.
Yeah, I can agree with that. All right, so before we get disconnected again, let's go through some parlays.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to start with the Braves and the Diamondbacks. This game coming from Truist Park, or whatever else you want to call it. That stupid building they put out there in the middle of nowhere, out past the airport, which is basically what it is. The Diamondbacks, I guess they've been good lately. Of course, they beat up on the Giants. And who they play over the weekend that wasn't any good last week?
The Diamondbacks?
Because I know it wasn't the Giants. Yeah.
I
know they're 6-1 in their last 7, but I know they haven't beaten anybody.
Yeah. Let me pull that up.
We'll just say it was another scrub team.
It was the Nationals.
But anyway, they're going on the road. Oh, there you go. Exactly, another scrub team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you're going to look at it here, and Kyle Wright has been on a roll. He's, 8-1 in his last 10 starts. He's got 12 wins. I know Steen wasn't high on him a few weeks ago, thinking that, maybe he hit the wall because he had a couple rough starts in a row, but he's rebounded nicely. And yeah, sure, Arizona, they beat up on Washington. They beat up on San Francisco. Those were all at Chase Field. This is on the road. Atlanta's a good team at Truist Park. Diamondbacks, not a good road team. And sadly for them, they still have 37 of these to go. They don't score a ton of runs. Atlanta's a dangerous offensive team. You've seen that with Austin Riley. I can't trust Arizona even with Bumgarner here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bumgarner also has not been that great this year. He's been okay. But it's also, I was going to say, it's worth mentioning when you go through some starts to keep in mind outlier starts, because he's had pretty much 2 bad outings all season long. He gave up 6 runs against the Red Sox in May, and then he gave up 5 runs against the Cubs in mid-June. If you kind of ignore those starts, his ERA would be closer to 2.5. I mean, Wright's numbers are actually just fantastic. And I actually got into a bit of a debate with some people in a group chat of mine about Bumgarner being a Hall of Famer or not. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, and I think that he's still overrated. Can I say that? I know he had one of the best postseason runs of all time, but since that postseason run, he really has not been that good.
True.
So people still treat him like, it's Bumgarner.
He hasn't won more than 9 games in a year since 2016.
But people look at him and go, it's Bumgarner. I got to be concerned. It's you really don't. He really has not been good for several years. But
No, I mean,
that's just my
you
opinion,
look
I
last
guess.
year, he had a 467 earned run average. This year, he's at 371, but his FIP is 449. He's only averaging a little over 5 innings to start. So, I
Yeah.
mean, he's basically the branded name version of Dallas Keuchel as opposed to the store brand.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I see it, Bumgarner at this stage in his career for the last couple of years, he's been basically a mediocre number 3, number 4 starter. And yet people treat him like he's still a number 1 or number 2 just because of what he did in the past.
I mean,
No.
he's only got 133 career wins.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
I
Like,
mean,
I
he
don't know
doesn't
what people are
tick
talking about.
a lot of
Like,
boxes.
yeah, like he's great in the postseason.
I
That's
mean,
great for him. Like, you need some numbers. But
yeah, and you haven't been to the postseason.
Yeah, it's not good.
I agree. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer at this point. I don't think he's going to be around long enough to get any metrics where he's going to be a Hall of Famer, because you figure he's got to get to at least 200 wins, if
You'd
not more
assume
than that, to
so,
even
but
be in consideration.
I was going to say wins are tricky, though, because that led to a DeGrom conversation in the group chat. And DeGrom still has like 73 wins. Like, it's different because he has a couple Cy Youngs. He has some of the best pitching numbers of all time. But I don't know what DeGrom's case is going to be moving forward, because the prime has been pretty short because he's injured all the time. But I don't know.
Yeah, his can run or less. And, that's not really going to needle all that much when you get right down to it.
Yeah, it's tough.
He's a great pitcher, but like you said, he's injury prone.
I kind of compared DeGrom's career up to this point to Johan Santana. His numbers are better, but the point is you're looking at a Cy Young caliber, arguably best pitcher in the league. I know DeGrom's a more clear-cut case, but I compare it to Johan because they were great for several seasons, probably not long enough, and Johan's not even close to the Hall of Fame. So I think it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and Santana has more wins in his career than Bumgarner does, and he pitched fewer years.
And the Cy Youngs.
So there's that as well. So yeah.
Oh well.
Valid point there. And in the case of Santana, he threw that no-hitter for the Mets, and then that was pretty much his last hurrah.
I was going to say allegedly because,
right.
I mean, that was a single, but, that was a fair ball. But, yeah, his arm kind of fell off after that. We saw the same thing with Lincecum. Like, is Lincecum a Hall of Famer? No. I think he had a better career than Mad Bum. I mean, I don't think you can really debate that, can you?
I mean, if you're going to say he should be in the Hall of Fame, what are we going to say next? Matt Cain should be in the Hall of Fame?
I'm just comparing. Like, if you want to talk about Giants pitchers that have a better Hall of Fame argument, I think Lincecum's got a much better argument than Mad Bum, in my opinion.
Look at Lincecum's numbers. Yeah, he won 110 games, so
he wasn't around long enough either. But
yeah, he retired in 2016, so
both of them shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm just saying, if you want to make a case for one, their resumes are similar enough where you should also include the other, and you're obviously not going to include the other. That was my point.
Yeah, that's a valid point all around.
Either way. I agree with you on the Braves. I'm not going to back Arizona because they beat up on a struggling Giants team and a bad Nationals team. The Braves are really good at baseball. There's really not much more to read into.
Yeah. And Andrew pointed out that Juan Marichal was way better than Bumgarner, of course.
Yeah, definitely true.
You could say a lot of guys from back then were better than Bumgarner that aren't in the Hall of Fame either.
Yeah.
All right, now we can move on. How about, we just talked about the Nationals. How about the Cardinals going to take on the Nationals? Scott, you like Anibal Sanchez?
Is it 2013 again? Because if not, then I'm not interested. So, no, I don't.
Now, who would you rather have on the mound if you were going to fade Washington? Would you rather have Anibal Sanchez now or Yohan Adon?
Who would I rather fade? I'd fade Adon. It's more fun. I mean, Adon is still very, very young. So when you want to talk about, like, all-time awful records or, like, all-time great fade options, Adon's a first-ballot fade Hall of Famer. Like, his numbers are borderline unparalleled.
We should come up with a fade Hall of Fame.
If there was, he would be first ballot. Like, his numbers are that bad. Like you've made money almost every time fading Adon. I think he's got to be the choice. But
do you trust Sanchez here? I know you just said it's not 2013 anymore.
do I trust him? No. I
Means I need to
trust him,
update
but
my
I'm fading
calendar.
him. I was going to say, I trust him to fade him. Does that count?
And you look at Mikolas here, I mistyped. He's actually 7-8, not 7-6. But talk about a guy that gets no run support. In half of his 20 starts this year, the Cardinals have scored 3 or less, including 4 times where they've been shut out.
Yeah, well, that's why you look at the ERA.
On the plus side, in the other 10 starts, they scored at least 5 runs.
Yeah, his ERA is 2.87, and he's got a 7-8 record. So you know that Mikolas has been a good pitcher, which has been a very nice story for him after he had the arm issues from last year. And he almost had the no-hitter this year, which would have been nice too. But Mikolas has been good. The issue is he gets no support, but you're hoping Annabelle is that bad that the Cardinals can even muster, thinking very high here, 4 runs of support for him in this one. So, yeah, I'll go with the Cardinals. I think it's a good price.
Yeah, well, like I said, the thing with Mikolas is half his starts they score 3 or less. The other half of his starts they've scored at least 5, including they've hit double digits 4 times and scored 9 in another one.
Yeah.
So, and with Sanchez, you have to think that hopefully this is one of those games that the bats actually wake up. They'll have Goldschmidt and Arenado, which they didn't have in Toronto. So that should help them out.
By the way, shout out to Toronto's pitching staff. They actually made Albert Pujols look very solid for like 2 games. I'm kind of impressed.
Yeah,
Pujols killed them.
I know. How scary is that? After I talked about how he shouldn't have been in the All-Star game.
Yeah, pretty much.
By the way, I still don't think he should be been in the All-Star game.
I still can't believe Pujols beat Schwarber in the home run derby. But that's a separate story.
It was rigged.
Yeah, you can argue it was rigged, but definitely an interesting development there. But either way,
those balls he was hitting Nerf balls.
He was, but I had the distance for longest home run under, and that cashed by like 30 feet. So they didn't use Nerfy enough Nerf balls. Whatever. They didn't put cork in the ball, so it didn't go far enough,
Yep. All right, so we'll take a look at the 2 for the money. 2 of these games we already talked about. You see them in the middle of the screen there. How about the Astros and the Mariners? I thought Seattle was going to play better yesterday for Gilbert. They didn't. Now I'm going to fade Robbie Ray, who got torched in his last start, conveniently against this same team.
Yeah.
And they got to deal with Justin Verlander.
Seattle just can't beat this damn team. Like, I'm not going to fully blame them because Houston's arguably the best team in the American League. I think they are. But Seattle there's some teams that you just can't beat every year. Seattle's one of those teams against Houston. They just cannot solve this Rubik's Cube. They just can't do it.
Yeah, you know who else can't solve the Rubik's Cube this Houston is Texas. Texas is terrible.
Also the Yankees. I mean,
they won good by anything, but they're terrible against Houston every year.
I was going to say the Yankees are also one of those teams, especially this year. They won 2 games despite never leading until the walk-off. They've trailed in like 90% of the innings against Houston. Houston's a very good team. They own a lot of teams, but Seattle's one of them. It just seems like they match up very well against Seattle.
That's true. I mean, and in the case of the Yankees, better lucky than good. I mean, I'm not saying they're not a good team, but they were fortunate in those games, and they were fortunate last night. I mean, would they have 2 hits that made Brady Singer look like Bob?
They had 2 hits in the first 8 innings. They had 1 hit in the first 8 innings.
What did you? Yeah, what did you take away from that? Was it a fluke?
What did I take away from it? The Yankees have reverted back to what happened last year. And the talent is there on the team. But the issue is when you embrace analytics, and that's kind of the whole new wave of baseball thinking, you prioritize home runs, you prioritize launch angles, etc., and yet your team never actually makes good contact with the ball. The Yankees won, so, that's all that matters, but you're looking at how the lineup has performed the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of parallels to what we saw last year, which is a lot of guys being stranded on base because everyone's trying to hit the long ball. It's kind of just how the Yankees have embraced hitting for the last couple of years, and that's why runners in scoring position has not been a recipe for success for the Yankees because they all go for home runs no matter how many people are on base. It's a problem.
That's true.
That's why they got Benintendi.
Yeah, the inability to do the little things like moving the runner over just by rolling over and bouncing to second seems to be a lost art these days with a lot of teams.
And sack bunting doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. And that's part of the reason why I've never been a fan of the DH, because it takes the strategy out of the game when you get to the bottom of the order. Do you worry, or do you let your pitcher hit in a situation, or do you take him out and try to get some offense and go to your sucky relief core or whatever?
Yeah.
Now that's not an option because, hey, look, everybody gets to bat. What is this?
I mean,
Oprah?
Personally, I like the DH in both the leagues. I understand your point about strategy and how that gives another wrinkle for the manager to deal with. I just didn't like seeing automatic outs for the first 5 innings at the 9.
But you got Joey Gallo in your lineup.
Yeah, he's an automatic out too. He shouldn't be in the league. But
that's my point. So
yeah.
you get it anyway.
That's true. But I don't want to talk about Gallo. It's rough. It's rough.
And then finally, I'm going to back the Twins here over the Padres. This game's at Petco Park. Here's the thing. Blake Snell's pitching for the Padres. Blake Snell will give you a mediocre outing, but don't expect him to be in there very long. And we've talked about how bad San Diego's bullpen has been to the point where, Taylor Rogers blew his 38th save the other night, wasted that start by Darvish. I can't trust him. I can't trust San Diego's bullpen. Joe Ryan's going for the Twins. They've got a decent lineup. You're giving me plus money for a team that leads their division. I get it. It's the AL Central, but still they're ahead of everybody else. And I'll take Ryan over Snell.
Yeah, plus
by the way,
Snell,
Tim Earl says he loves Gallo. He's doing great things for the Yankees.
Yeah, I wonder if that has anything to do with him being a Mets fan. Maybe it does, just reading a little bit into it. But, I agree with you. It's a good plus price there, fading a pretty underwhelming pitcher. Snell's also a lefty. We know Minnesota has a lot of power bats from the right side. So Buxton might go yard. You might see a couple of guys take him deep. But as you said before, Snell, even if he pitches well, usually gets slightly into the 6th inning. If that's basically it. So you might be looking at San Diego's bullpen for about 4 innings. I'll take my chances at plus money.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to 4 for the show, where, look at this, we got not 1, not 2, but 3 teams that are underdogs in here. Because people always talk about, why do we keep picking the favorites? Well, where's the Blue Jays? If I have to tell you to take the Blue Jays over the Tigers with Alek Manoah pitching, you've probably never watched the show before. Mm-hmm. If I have to tell you to take the Yankees with Garrett Cole over Chris Bubich and the Royals,
minus 400.
You've probably never watched the show before.
Yeah.
What were the other horrible lines today that I didn't talk about? If I had to tell you to take Urias and the Dodgers over, is it Chad Kuhl going for the Rockies today?
It might be. I know the Dodgers looked pretty sharp in Coors Field yesterday. They win 13-0.
Yeah. If I have to tell you, it is cool. If I have to tell you to take the Dodgers over the Rockies, we probably haven't watched the show. We won't talk about the A's and the White Sox just because it's the A's and the White Sox.
I actually think the A's might be live in that game tonight. I mean, it was my play of the day, but you can't lay that much with Lance Lynn. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
That's true, but I don't trust Caprelli in either.
Oh, no, that's why I got the team total. I'm just going to ignore Oakland's entire pitching staff.
But, yeah, I would say, a safe play there, too, would be the over, because for some reason it opened at 8, and it's only at like 8.5.
Yeah.
And I think you're probably going to see, 10 or 11 runs.
I got the win. I got the team total for Oakland at 3, like a flat 3. I'm like, all right, sure. I'll fade Lance Lynn for 3. I'll do it. Why not?
Why not? It's there, right?
Yeah.
Tim says the Royals money line plus the Tigers money line parlay is plus 1650.
I mean, if you want to have some fun, sure, but it's not going to be me. But I'll tell you what, though, props to you, by the way, yesterday for your Hamilton call in the CFL.
Yeah, I was happy to see that they hung on because they were up 24-6, and then they gave a couple scores in the 4th.
Yeah, hold on.
I know Rye was back in Montreal, so it was a good game. I just hopefully we'll see BC pull out the win over Saskatchewan tonight.
Mm. Hopefully.
Dog again. I don't get it. Saskatchewan's 4-3. They're Cody Fajardo is limping around. He didn't play last week. They played Jake Dolagala at quarterback, and he was as bad as his name sounds.
Yeah.
I don't have.
I was gonna say I'm assuming the reason why
offense. They lead the league in passing offense and rushing offense.
Yeah, I mean I have a theory why Saskatchewan's
Other
favored,
than that, they're
but
terrible.
it's based on head to head. I mean
What's your theory?
Saskatchewan's won each of the last 8 meetings?
Something like that, but that just means they're due.
Yes, I believe that's the gambler's fallacy, which I love. But no, the thing is, people will blindly look at head-to-head meetings in the past, even though the rosters are completely different than what they were previously.
That's true.
BC's looked like the better team. You can argue that they're the second best or the third best team in the league. Winnipeg's 1, Calgary's probably 2, so I'll put BC at 3.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming Saskatchewan's favored because they've won 8 straight against BC.
League, but you're only the third best team in your own division that has 5 teams.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Bill's asking about the total in that game. I don't trust Saskatchewan necessarily to slow down BC's offense.
I think I'm leaning to the over if I had to pick something in that game.
Yeah, BC's it's at 49.
Okay.
BC has gone over in each of their last 6 against the West Division, which makes sense. You look at the teams that are in there with Winnipeg and Calgary and those guys.
Well, if you want to go by trends, by the way, you have 5 of the last 6 meetings have had at least 51 points.
Yeah, there you go. And BC's gone over in 9 of their last 11. Saskatchewan's gone over 4 of their last 5. The fun prop, if you can find it, that they've got out there is the team to commit the first accepted penalty.
Oh boy, we got Super Bowl props on regular CFL games. Oh god.
If you can find it, bet Saskatchewan. They lead the league in They lead the league in penalties with almost 11 a game. BC averages half of that.
Yeah.
Going back to the baseball games, I'm going to go with the Rangers over the Angels. Like Scott was talking about earlier, the Angels just made Spencer Howard look like Cy Young.
It was brutal. It was so bad. I can't even say they had many chances. They just didn't look good for the entire game. They didn't have many chances either.
But they're due. They're facing Martin Perez now, and I don't trust Sandoval to save my life.
I don't trust the offense. Forget about Sandoval. I'm not sure they can score.
Well, there's that as well. I'm going to stick with the Phillies over the Pirates. Hey, it worked yesterday, right? Bailey Falter going against Quintana, but, we've talked about now that Familia is gone, we don't have to worry about giving up 5 runs in the 9th to make it a much more interesting game than what it was. I looked at it when it was 8-2, and I said, well, all right, this is gonna be fine. There's 1 out in the 9th. I turned it off. I came back and looked at it later. Saw people talking on Twitter about how Familia is Spanish for blown run line.
Yep.
And then went to see if he actually blew the game. He tried. Give him credit for that.
But I still remember getting into arguments with some Mets fans that I'm friends with in group chats, and they kept trying to convince me that Familia was actually a good relief pitcher because he had like a decent amount of saves. It was when he was still closing for the Mets. I just always thought he sucked. And I had a theory that if you were ever facing off against Familia, if you just never took the bat off your shoulder, he'd walk you in 6 pitches.
Probably.
That was my theory. So, yeah, Familia.
And that's if it was a good day.
I was going to say. So, the Mets fans might like him because he was tolerable with them, but I was never a fan. And I can't say I'm surprised that he blew up past his prime, quote-unquote.
And the fact about when we were talking about that BC was due, that was more a joke. It's just that BC's obviously the better team. When you lead the league in pretty much every offensive category and you're pretty decent defensively, Saskatchewan's banged up. They're minus 2 of their top defensive ends. They don't get pressure on the quarterback. Nathan Rourke's been sacked 4 times all season for BC. Saskatchewan, they're a tough team, but they don't
It'll
have
be
they don't have the horses.
It'll be a close game, but I think BC probably pulls it out by like 3 or so. Like
And who
it's
cares?
going to be
Because
a
they're
nail
getting
biter.
1.5.
Yeah, I'm saying I think it's going to be a very close game, but I do think BC has value. For the actual Phillies game, I agree with you. Both pitchers aren't great. I know Quintana's numbers are okay, but he was definitely a bit front-loaded with those great numbers. Pittsburgh has just been awful. I mean, they've lost 4 straight. If you want to go through the recent performances, they've lost 9 of 11. They're just a pure fade team at this point. We know Reynolds is still, banged up. O'Neal Cruz has been solid, which isn't surprising, but they don't exactly have any, what's the word I'm looking for? Talent. That's the word I'm looking for. But, I mean,
They
Reynolds
got
is their
Brian
best.
Hayes, but that's about it.
I was going to say, Hayes is the guy they gave a bunch of money to. He's batting 247. Like, he's okay. Cruz has been interesting, but he has an on-base percentage of 250. So, I mean, I don't know what to think of Cruz either, but Reynolds is their best player, and he's injured. So if you want to fade him, I don't have any issues fading bad baseball teams at minus 120.
And like Magellan pointed out down there too, Quintana could be traded. Who knows? He might not even start.
Yeah, so the action definitely makes sense there instead of listed pitchers because they might have to settle for a bullpen day if at the last minute somebody decides I really want Jose Quintana, which is like half joking.
You got some drunk guy up there going, this Jerry DePoto going, yeah, you know what we need for this Mariners team? We need Jose Quintana.
A lefty, but not just any lefty. We need a lefty that can't reach 92 miles per hour. Somebody get me Quintana.
Well, I mean, you could have gotten Keuchel for that.
Yeah, you could have. Instead, he's in the minors. So
yeah,
that's right. I got to check when he's starting. I got to try the experiment. I got to fade him in AAA. I forgot about that. I got to try to fade Keuchel in AAA.
And then we got the Marlins. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Mets are a great team. It's just hard to go against Alcantara, especially pitching at home. His ERA there, I think, is 166 or something ridiculous like that. Chris Bassett is kind of hit the skids since June. He's 3-5 since June 1st. The Mets have the better lineup, but can they do enough against Alcantara, or are they just going to wait for the 8th or 9th inning and then beat on the bullpen?
Yeah, I know Rye mentioned that he likes to play on Marte no hits at like +1.
I'll take Quintana.
Like 170 or something, but I think I'm tempted by first 5 instead of full game just because of how allergic Alcantara is to run support. I might just take first 5 there because I definitely want to fade Bassett while backing Alcantara, but I don't exactly want to get involved with the bullpens. So I like the logic there. I definitely like Marlins minus 1.5, though. I get that it goes against what I just said for run support, but plus 230 with Alcantara? Like, I think it's just blindly worth it. I was going to say, like, for a price point, that's a very solid price point. I got to like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll go to the... Yes, that's right, JC. It was a late run by Montreal as they tried to get in it, but fortunately Hamilton hung on. I'm not gonna apologize for them pulling.
They won. That's all that matters.
Yeah. And finally, we've got the shot in the dark, and Steen's to blame. You notice he's not here. I think he passed out. Day drinking. I'm going to stick with Jose Abreu over 1.5 total bases going against Caprelli, and we talked about how bad Caprellian is. Abreu's hitting 348 in July. Hard to believe, considering, how poorly he is hitting earlier in the year.
So I got a question. You said stick with Abreu. When have you taken Abreu this week?
I took him earlier this week.
You did? Okay. Because I immediately thought of Jose Ramirez when you said stick with, and it said Abreu, and I was trying to remember the last time you had Abreu on the card.
I think I had Abreu Wednesday when you weren't here.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Aaron Judge. Do we need to talk about Aaron Judge?
No, he hits dingers.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Ohtani's at plus 145 against Martin Perez. He might be the only guy who gets any hits.
I was going to say lefty. Is that why it's that price? That's still a hell of a deal for Ohtani.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Flip side, Corey Seager, plus 115. He's been on a bit of a roll. Homered again the other day, I believe it was. And let's face it, Patrick Sandoval doesn't scare anybody.
Yep.
Here's another one. Jordan Alvarez. Why are we putting him at plus 143 against Robbie Ray?
Because Ray's a
Did any,
lefty.
but
I'm
did
telling you,
anybody
they
watch his start the
overcommit.
other day?
They overcommit to lefty versus lefty. A lot of these sports books do, but that's why when you're looking at plus prices, and we talked about why the lines are so high, they all involve lefty pitchers, and
That's a good
you
point.
backed a decent amount of lefties. So just keep that in mind. Some of those might be overinflated. I feel like even with Ray on the mound, or hell, even like Randy Johnson on the mound, I mean, over 1.5 for Jordan at plus 143 is just a hell of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, you can't pass that deal. Even if it doesn't hit, it's not because it's worth taking the shot at. I mean, it's not like you're betting Joey Gallo to strike out 3 times at minus 250.
Mm-hmm.
And JC said that Steen's still hurting from his wife's lousy Tour de France pick.
You hate to see it. Truth is, I don't even remember what the hell she picked. I know the favorite did not win. The favorite came in second.
You know, cycling breaks up the strongest relationships, I tell you.
I did read that somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to believe what you read on the internet.
I think the Ohtani one's probably the worst one in terms of price because Jordan, you could argue, is coming off of an injury. He's not the fastest guy in the world. Ohtani can run.
Right.
Like, he can actually stretch a single into a double. So that one I find the weirdest. But I don't know.
Now, what do you make of the Brewers going team total over 5.5 against Boston?
Well, you're fading crappy pitching staff with Boston. Now, Milwaukee's offense is very, very streaky, which is why 5.5 is scary. But Austin Davis is pitching.
Oh, they switch out. Did they switch out too? Because last night it was Bello.
Yeah, it's Davis. I think they realized they were at home and they knew Bello wasn't going to actually make it out to the mound.
Oh, see, covers is still showing Bello.
Yeah, so I see Davis now, but after the last start, the Red Sox fans would have swarmed the field if Bello was starting. So now they switched it.
Yeah, of course.
So do you want to still take it or do you want to pull it?
No, I still think that Milwaukee can put up runs. I mean, Boston's bullpen hasn't been good.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would probably look at I'd look at Milwaukee first 5 minus a half there. I like Woodruff. I think he's a good pitcher.
Yeah, he's been a lot better than what he started this season because he got roughed up a couple times early on.
Yeah, he came off the IL and he's been sharp. So
yeah, I will say that. Then we got how about the Yankees over 5.5 against the Royals?
So for this one, I'm out. And I get the logic. The wind's blowing out. I think to left center. You have Bubic on the mound, which goes well, of course, with the wind blowing out because he's a lefty. I just roasted the Yankees hitting approach.
This is true.
And
you did.
I just can't get on board. And even though Bubic has been terrible, we just saw the Yankees get 1 hit by Brady Singer.
This is also true.
I can't. Stan's still on the IL, and he's one of their main power bats.
But Gleyber Torres hits well against left-handed pitching. He's got like a 367 ISO number.
Yeah, it's great for Gleyber. Good for him. I don't really care. I think I'm out on this one. I thought about maybe Royals team total under 2.5, which is dicey with the wind.
I saw you get over 1 was one of the numbers I saw on the books earlier.
Really? Because I saw 1.5 for the first 5 team total for Kansas City at like minus 155. Or like under 1.5 minus 155. Like that I'm kind of tempted by. But for the team total Yankees, I think I'm out on this one just because the team has really looked just awful at the plate recently. And they've made bad pitchers look good. So I think I'm going to pass on that one.
But you know, now watch. This will be the wake-up call because, you know, Bubic has pitched well his last couple starts. So now Steen will go and jump on him and then he'll get lit up.
It could be, you know, but when you're asking me for my thoughts on the Yankees team total, I really don't want any overs right now, especially with them being the home team and probably not needing to bat in the 9th.
Oh, to your point, yeah. Team total for the Royals over 1.5 is minus 200. Over 2.5 is plus 100.
Yeah. I don't think they get over. So Cole might give up a home run, which might be the concern, but did you see the Royals lineup they used yesterday?
Yeah, it was definitely a stellar.
It was AAA caliber,
and that's being generous because I mean we've already seen the Royals put out a AAA lineup.
They use Melendez, their starting catcher, as the leadoff hitter. Explain that one to me.
You'd have to get Steen to explain that to
I
you
don't get
because
it.
I find everything that the Royals do to be stupid.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um, the Guardians plus money against the slump. Something else decided to change pitching and not tell me. Scott, you got anything good to say about Tampa Bay at home after watching them lose 3 out of 4 to Baltimore and score no runs yesterday?
I was gonna say I still see Bieber against Springs. So yeah, I mean I like the plus money. We had Rock on yesterday. I mean, he mentioned that, Tampa's injured to hell and back, which they are. They don't have a closer. So if you want to talk about close games late, I have more faith in Cleveland's bullpen right now than Tampa's because Tampa doesn't really have many arms left. And Tampa lost 3 out of 4 to Baltimore. If you want to go past that, they have lost 5 of 6. And they also lost a 3-game series. They lost 2 out of 3 to Kansas City. Plus money with Bieber.
Yeah.
There's a lot worse plus money bets you could make. I like that play.
And to your point about the Rays, they lost to the Royals, they lost to Baltimore. Trey Mancini had an inside the park homer yesterday where the guy completely lost the ball in right field.
That's an error. It hit him in the face. That's an error. Like, I get the idea of baseball scoring in the loophole where if you don't touch the ball, then it counts as a hit. The ball hit him in the face. How is that not an error?
Well, he wasn't supposed to catch the ball with his face, Scott.
I get that's why it's an error. Because the glove wasn't there. Or at least give him like a double, but you're going to give him an inside the park home run because it hits him in the face and rolls off like for 20 seconds. Like, no, an inside the park, like, come on. Like, give me a break.
Magellan also pointing out that the Red Sox fans were all about Brayan Bello before he made his first start and said he's the worst, maybe the worst prospect he's ever seen.
If I had to compare Bello, the hyped up Red Sox prospect, to anybody from the Yankees, it would be Chance Adams. If you remember that guy, he was like a top 5 prospect for the Yankees, and he was supposed to become a future whatever. They called him up. I think he has a career ERA of like 9. Like, they called him up several times. He was never good in any outing, and I feel like it's kind of a similar comparison there. But
I mean, look at Mark Apple. Look how hyped he was coming out of college, and he finally got to make his debut. What?
I was gonna say, Appel's in the majors. I still think.
Yeah, but that's just because he's pitching with the Phillies.
But I think he made his debut this year.
Yeah, he did. That's what I'm saying. I mean, think about how long he waited to actually get up to the bigs after being hyped up forever.
Yeah, true.
Oh yeah, there you go. Chance Adams, 1-2, 842 earned run average of 1.48 WHIP.
So I thought he had an 8-something ERA, but he was a top 5 Yankee prospect his entire minor league career, and he sucked. So yeah, that's my comparison for Bello. That's my Yankee comparison for Bello.
And he was gone after 2 years. He spent 6 games with the Royals in 2020.
Yeah, 2 years. He should have been gone after about 3 starts. But
he only made
go
one
with the Royals either.
He only made 1 start in the majors.
Yeah, but there were a couple of times they used openers.
Oh, so he was the bulk
like
guy.
5 innings. But
yeah, so he was the bulk guy. I got you.
Yeah, but I saw him at Kansas City against the Yankees. I think he gave up like 6 runs in like 2 innings. Like he was still terrible. It didn't matter.
Yeah, no record of 9.35 ERA and 6 appearances for the Royals over 8 2/3.
Wasn't good.
Yeah, no bueno.
No bueno.
Garrett Cole over 8.5 whiffs. Like you said, this is a Royals AAA lineup, and that might be generous. You see Cole punch out a bunch of guys lately.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, do you think the Royals can make contact?
Make contact maybe on a couple of times, but if Cole goes 6 or 7 innings, he'll probably have 10 strikeouts.
So basically you're saying that this is like in Major League 2 where he's pinch hitting Roger Dorn?
Dorn's 0 for the century against this guy.
Yeah. Though he does have several foul tips.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's not good. Tell you that much.
And Alek Manoah over 6.5 strikeouts. I know everybody's going to say, the Tigers are going to load up with left-handed batters.
But they don't touch the ball.
That's what I say. Most of those left-handed batters have a ridiculous strikeout rate.
And I don't care how many lefties you put in the lineup. Baez is going to play. So
that's true.
That's at least 1 strikeout there, probably 2.
I thought you were going to say 3.
It could be 3, but we'll see.
But, yeah, so there you go. good little rundown there. Glad you guys stuck with us despite the technical difficulties. Hopefully, I'll be able to get this squared away over the weekend and blow up Windows or whatever I have to do to get it working again.
Yep.
But Scott, anything you want to add?
No, not really. Looking forward to cashing some bets over the weekend. Should be fun, and we'll be back Monday.
Anybody you're fading over the weekend that you see right now?
For the weekend, no. I don't even know who the hell I'm fading 5 minutes from now. No, I'm fading Lance Lynn tonight, which is kind of my main takeaway. But if I end up finding anything else that I like besides my play of the day video, I'll probably post something on Twitter. So just stay tuned for that. But I'm going to be looking at the no-hit props, but I'm also less involved over the next couple of days because I can't bet half the props I like because I'm in Florida.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So I'm a little bit selfish that way. But
JC also asked if you were doing a UFC video.
I might. I'm not sure. It should be a good card, but as I said before, I've been kind of busy with family stuff, so I'm not sure if I have a lot of time to go through the entire UFC card. I'll say probably a 50-50 shot.
He's too busy with the beach bunnies talking about how you want a bunch of 10-teamers.
Yep, pretty much. But
that's
priorities.
It's a rough life.
Priorities.
When you're Scott Reichel.
Yep.
That's why he shaved.
That is. I shave for the occasion. It's for the even tan. So either way, thanks for stopping by, guys, and we look forward to seeing all of you next week. Bye, everyone.